A good horror game is something special. It is able not just to challenge us with its gameplay or tell a good story, but to scare us, to haunt our dreams and idle thoughts, even to make us question our own perceptions of reality. In this podcast, we meet the developers of both existing popular horror titles and hotly anticipated upcoming ones to discuss how they do it, what inspires them, and all things spooky and unnerving. Welcome to Talking Terror, the official podcast of the Horror Game Awards. Hello and welcome to Talking Terror, the official podcast of the Horror Game Awards. As ever, I'm Phil and I'm joined by Will as your hosts for the episode. And we are delighted today to be joined by Nix, Maxi, and Sven from Abstract Digital, who are here to talk about their new upcoming game, Astral Rot, but who are also involved in Tormented Souls from 2021, which is also something that a lot of us here are very big fans of and
Definitely.
very excited to talk about and possibly gush over. So thanks guys for joining us. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
So I think before we kind of start getting into talking about specific games, I think just to kind of get to know where you're all coming from, do you want to talk about what kind of like brought you into horror and what kind of types of horror you're a fan of, and your preferences? I don't know which one of you wants to go first.
I can go a little bit first because I can tell the origin of Tormented Souls. What happened to Abstract Digital is that we actually found the guys from Dual Effect. They were not yet incorporated or anything, and they had this prototype for mobile of a pre-rendered backgrounds game like Resident Evil, the original Tormented Souls, but they didn't know how to program very well. They were artists. They are really great artists. So we started working with them, and as I am older, the games that I remember fondly when I was young were Silent Hill, Resident Evil, and those kind of games. Alone in the Dark, those kind of games, Amnesia. So we started working on the game, and we actually applied for a grant because the guys wanted to do this game on mobile, and I was like, I hate mobile. We tried to do mobile, and everything is free to play right now. Yeah. I really hate it. So I want this game to be a premium game, and you also want this game to be a premium game. This is not a free-to-play game. So let's apply to this grant, and let's do a pre-production, and let's do a PC port, or a PC version of this game with free backgrounds, 3D backgrounds. We can do 3D backgrounds right now. We don't need to do pre-rendered backgrounds. And we did. And we actually got such a good result. We didn't know we got such a good result, but we posted it on Twitter. And actually, publishers came like, "Hey, we want to give you money to make the game." And we were like, "What's happening?" You know, that's how we started with Tormented Souls.
Cool. Anyone else want to kind of come in just to talk about like what kind of horror you're drawn to? What brings you into this genre?
Yeah, I can go. I am a really big fan of old school horror games. I grew up with a PlayStation 1. I actually still have a PlayStation 1 hooked up in my living room. I actually literally just have like retro consoles on my living room. I have a 64 PlayStation 1. I have a GameCube. I have a PS2. And like right next to that, you have like my PS5 and my new stuff. But yeah, my main setup is just all the games. And I was really big fan of like these kind of like fixed camera games. I was a really big fan of Dino Crisis, like Project Eve, Resident Evil, Silent Hill. It was one of those games that I really liked, but I just couldn't play it alone because I was really young when the game came out, and it just gave me the creeps. I wasn't able to finish the original Silent Hill when I was younger.
Yeah,
but yeah, I am the Resident like old school gamer, the hater of the new stuff. So yeah, those are my main influences.
Yeah,
I actually wanted to say that I played the first four Silent Hills with my brother, and it's really funny because right now when you talk about Silent Hill, like 4, it was the last good one. we didn't know it right back then. It
No,
was like,
yeah, yeah.
this shit. The three, the first three ones are good, but no, that was the last good one. And I actually played those a lot with my brother. So I'm a big fan of Silent Hill mainly. I actually don't play horror games anymore. I think it's because from Resident Evil 4 onwards, they became like action games. And I really don't like shooters. So
No.
actually, like those slow tempo, those puzzle focused games, are actually what attracts me. I actually am a very good fan of escape room games. So I love escape room games. So escape room kind of horror is like for me like the best.
Yeah. How about yourself, Maxi?
Yeah, I think I will be the more contemporary type of player. So actually, I don't remember that I played that much of classic horror games. I just remember Dino Crisis. Now that Nick's mentioned Dino Crisis 2, I was really a big fan, but that not that scary as the other games. But the one that really hooked me was the Dead Space saga. So I played the first Dead Space. Actually, it was really funny because I was really scared playing it, and I take like I played it like for episodes. So I just played one episode and I was like, okay, so a lot of horror for today. So I
Yeah.
continue tomorrow because I needed to do a break. And I really like it. And I really like the sci-fi environments. Actually, sci-fi movies are my favorites. So the second one, which explores more my
We lost Maxi. Oh,
my favorite.
We actually lost you, Maxi, for one moment. What was
Yeah.
the
Really?
game?
That's space. That's space.
Yeah.
The Space Saga, especially the second one. I like it's more fast paced and more cinematic. I really like those kind of games, but actually the first one is really good as well. And those are my like uh, the horror saga that I like the most because I'm not that into that many horror games, but I tried Alien Isolation as well, which is sci-fi as well.
Yeah.
So that those are my kind of games.
Yeah. No, it's certainly a very big mix of all the different genres and different types of horror games. So one of the big things that we also ask is, what do you believe makes a really good horror?
backtracking.
Well, no, lacking. Yeah, no. I think the best horror games are those that don't rely on scare jumps. I
Mm.
think that scare jumps should be used like very now and then, just
Yeah.
to keep tension. But I think that the best horror games actually do like some psychological damage to, to the players. So you actually feel like you're suffering with
Yeah,
the
scarring them.
character. Yeah, I think that's the best thing that you can
Yeah.
do with this game. And when you can actually merge like the feeling of isolation with
Mm.
or desperation with the character and the gameplay, I think that's the best. When you actually, for example, in Silent Hill, those awful like puzzles, those creepy puzzles and those stuff, they actually make you feel like powerless, and the bosses also. And the game actually, we the survival horror, it's called like that because you actually survive with such low resources. And I think that's for me the best, like when you are not an all powerful being, but you are actually as humble as the main protagonist.
Yeah, I think that's something I agree on. Like a good survival horror game is a game where you need to survive. A game where you are not
Mm.
like a powerful tank that has like 20 weapons full of ammo. That's the kind of games I really like. Games where you have like little munition, little ways to defend yourself, where you can
Yeah.
still fight back, but it's you're at a disadvantage. You're always on danger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're just slowing them down. You're not taking them out, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is funny because, for example, I really like Dino Crisis 2, where it's complete opposite. You literally buy ammunition, But yeah, I consider like Dino Crisis like not that much of a survival horror game. It's a bit more action paced, But yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I think it will be like the atmosphere. I really because I think if I want to play a horror game, it's because I want to be scared.
Mm.
And actually, when I play the Alien Isolation game, I actually didn't finish because the atmosphere was so immersive that you couldn't take a step without wondering what was beyond. So at least for me, that it's a double-edged sword because I really liked it, but at the same time was so frightening that I
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
keep playing.
No, definitely. I think those games where it takes you into and you are actually playing as that person and you're in that mindset, that really does get you into the scary moments and stuff in the game. So no, definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's good to see because we've had it quite a bit when we're talking to developers of horror games. Like, obviously, you get certain people who play horror games and be like, "Oh, I'm never scared. I'm not scared by any of this." And then the developers are go, "Oh, this game I played, I was terrified." It's like, so I think that's really good to see because I mean, yeah, what's the point of horror if you don't, if you're not got your back up and ready to flee at a moment's notice.
Exactly.
Which I mean, I suppose brings us on to obviously your games and I think obviously Tormented Souls was kind of the one that was already out that we're most known for, but and we will touch on that as well. But do you want to kind of because Astral Rot's coming up, like for anyone who might not have heard of it yet or doesn't know what to expect, kind of give us a bit of a overview of what it's going to be about and what the setting and so forth.
Well, about I think you can go next, and then I
Yeah.
can talk. Yeah.
Okay, so about Astral, right? Astral Rot, like,
Mhm.
okay, so Astral Rot is going to take place in space. It's so I'm gonna start this with like explaining what Astral Rot is going to be. Imagine that space. What if that space was made 10 years earlier?
Okay.
So it's going to be this is going to be a survival horror, classic survival horror game with fixed cameras. We are gonna have like this also like moving cameras in the style of Code Veronica. It's going to be like similar to Tormented Souls. It's going to be set in space, in space, and the story goes a little bit like this. So there is a space. Humanity discovered a new mineral that has like anti-gravitatory properties. Okay, so humanity is went to an asteroid in space and started like a colony there, a mining colony. So what's happening in this colony? This material is like completely revolutionary because it lets you manipulate gravity. But the thing is like this mineral it's poisonous for humans. Okay, so the thing is, the people that are working on this colony, they are getting sick. The workers, all of the miners, they're getting very very sick. This mineral is just it's destroying them. So the people in this colony starting protesting. They say it's starting to like complain out to the people who is in power about this problem. It's like, hey, we're dying, we need help. And they're starting revolting, they're starting protesting. Okay, so the thing is, the people who is in power, instead of like doing something to help these people, they just ignore them completely and just release like this poison, the thing that's poisoned them into the colony, and just basically creates like a sort of like zombie apocalypse in this kind of in this space colony. So that's basically the plot of the game. And the protagonist, his name is Adler. He's a mining engineer, and when this is happening, he's going to work. He's just a worker. He needs to go to work. He knows that something's going on. There are people protesting, but there's nothing he can do about that. So he goes to work, and where he's going to work, he gets a call from his brother, who also works for this company. He's from a little. He works for like the more powerful people, but he's still on this,
Okay.
And calls Adler saying, "Yo, Adler, you need to get out of there. Something's going on. You need to come here right now, please." And as soon as this happens, he's going into the train. The train starts derailing. It's stopping. The train crashes. And Adler is able to escape the train, and he's now stuck in the center of everything that's going on. He goes off the train and he sees around. He sees the train station, and around the train station, he sees like everything destroyed. Like you see like the police. Like in this colony, there is like robots for everything. So you have like this police force just destroyed around. They are robots. They are destroyed. You see the people just dead in the ground, and you see a fire. Like a protest, and you see like the people around. They are becoming these kind of zombies. They have some kind of tumors. They are because this material it's poisoning them. and that's how the game starts. You're stuck in the middle of the station, in the middle of this zombie apocalypse, and you need to try to survive all of this. That's basically how the game starts.
Yeah, and the idea is to actually tell all the stories about the riot and the conflict between classes to actually see the remains of that. So the colony is somewhat well, you don't know if everything has survived like this apocalypse,
Yeah.
but you are actually walking through like the worst parts of this like zombie apocalypse in space, and the idea is to actually have a place that's not only a station. You're not close to the earth. This is a new home for all these people. They are far away in years, and also in time and also in space. So this was actually their home. So it's like for them it's like you actually having like an earth level apocalypse. So it's really eerie for them, and there is like there might be some escape from this, as there are other humans around there. But it's a place that also has, it's not only like a mining asteroid. It's, you actually have living quarters. There's actually animals. There's actually some parks and everything. So the idea is to actually have like this space that like the movie Passengers, to actually have like living spaces where you can
Okay.
actually see. So it's not only like a mining place. It's not in that regard. It's not like that much like Dead Space. It's more like living, a place that's more living, that has more like of a society that was there.
Yeah, so kind of like a space Raccoon City.
Yeah,
It's kind of like
somewhat like that.
the Talos station in Prey. It's closer to that.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, because I was going to say it's obviously a very intriguing story. Has there been any anything like any other games or films or stuff that's inspired the story?
Well, there's something that inspired the story. That's actually the Chilean riots from 2019.
Okay.
So yeah, the build we have and the gameplay we have, you actually see the Adler like jumping. How do you call this? The where you pay your train ticket, and that's a nod
Tolls.
to the riots that were in Chile, where people were actually jumping through the tickets. And it's about like this class battle between the working class and the people that control the everything. And here in Chile, they actually it's really funny because when this happened in Chile, there was people, the people in power were like going on TV and saying, "Oh, this is madness," because everything started with the metro
Yeah.
in Santiago charging 30 pesos more. 30 pesos is like
It's like 10
10
cents, not
cents.
like 5 cents. Five
No,
cents,
it's like
yeah.
5
Yeah.
cents. It's a really small amount. But the thing is, it was not about the 30 pesos. It was about the message, how it was made, how disconnected these people in power were. So they were
Okay.
actually saying like to the people, well, it's expensive in the normal hours, but if you wake up early, it actually it's cheaper. So you can get before. And also flowers are now cheaper, so you can go and buy flowers. And we're talking about the working class. So it was like,
Yeah.
and there was like these big riots in Chile, and we started as a country, we started noticing things that we didn't notice before. And then just when Chile was through like a change of the constitution and everything, we got the pandemic going on. So we actually got hit with both stuff. So there was
Yeah.
actually, we at the end of 2019 we had the riots, and then at the start of 2020 we had like the COVID pandemic. So
Wow.
we're actually just telling the story of our lives the last years.
For the next 3 years, yeah.
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 So is it going to begin with based on a true story?
Yeah.
Well, we're a mining country, so I guess, yeah.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, actually in Chile we had in the old days there was something called the salitreras, where there were like like very creepy. Like we could do a game in the future about this, where this was such madness that they didn't get paid with money. And this is from the 19th, from the past century, but still there was people that was paid with they were called fichas, so tokens. They were
Tokens, yeah.
crypto tokens before crypto was popular. So they got paid with tokens, and they couldn't get away because they were in reality they were slaves. They didn't have money. They had tokens that they could only spend in the same like mining place.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
it's
so
like a
that's
very
like the I know there was similar in America, like the company towns where you had to use the
basically,
company
exactly that.
the
Yeah,
same,
currency,
the same.
and obviously that kind of in sci-fi and horror stuff, you obviously see a lot of reflection of that. Like, so Aliens, the one that comes to mind
Yeah.
with like the
Yeah.
like corporates overreach on
Yeah.
everything and that sort of stuff, and then obviously introduce really horrific things into that
yeah.
dynamic.
It's funny because it's exactly that, but it was in the 1930s instead of the 1800s.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That in Chile was in the
It's-
1930s. You know,
yeah.
it's very, very French,
Wow.
and that's one of the great inspirations. So actually, the asteroids it's controlled by one corporation. Like the Artemis Corporation is the owner of the asteroid. So everyone in the asteroid is actually works for the same company. So the government is actually a corporation. So you have like this asteroid that's controlled by one company, but there are more companies out there. You know.
Yeah, I mean it's really fascinating to hear about this because obviously kind of I think that's always one of the things that makes a good horror story is like where it's something that's rooted in like it tells us something about ourselves and kind of reflects back on kind of real world things, and especially something that's both historical in the terms of the mining communities, but also so recent in terms of obviously the stuff you're describing about 2019. So that's really fascinating to see, and obviously it'd be interesting to see how that's built in the world whilst you're running away from all sorts of space zombies and things. And is it got a lot of stuff in terms of like obviously you mentioned classic survival horror, so it's like got that same feeling as like Tormented Souls with the more dynamic but fixed camera angles. I'm assuming the gameplay is similar in terms of the mechanics and things like a lot of the world building through notes and like exploration and backtracking and all that sort of stuff.
Yes, it's going to be very similar in that way. It's going to have a lot of backtracking, um, a lot of battles. But we also have like an extra element to the game, which is we have physics-based puzzles. Like one of the main weapons, one of the tools of the game is like a gravity device. We call it. It's basically just a type of like gravity gun where some objects that are made with the anti-gravitatory material mineral, they are going to be really noticeable. They're going to have a really specific color, so you will be able to manipulate those objects. So you will be able, for example, to you see like a bend on top that you cannot reach. You may be able to move a box to that bend and climb the box and then climb the bend. You will have like, for example, I have like a hole, that you cannot cross, but you can like bring something like a table, something to like be able to cross it over. You will be able to manipulate things at the distance with this. So yeah, we will have this new element which we feel adds a lot to the gameplay. It also works as a combat thing because some objects will be able to just like throw them around, so you will be able to hit enemies with those. You will be able to block the enemy's path with this object. So yeah, we're gonna evolve a little bit on the combat. And we also are going to have something that we did not do in Tormented Souls once because we didn't have the money to do it, which is be able to, we will have like critical hit points. You will be able to hit the aim at enemies and just hit them at different parts of the body. So if you will be able to hit something, like classic Resident Evil, where you shoot at something on the leg, it will fall over. You just shoot him at the head and you get a critical hit. The head's gonna explode. So yeah, our combat is gonna be a little bit less stiff. So we're trying to improve on that, which is something that I feel we fell quite a bit short on the original Tormented Souls because we didn't have the time or money to actually implement the features we wanted.
Yeah, Tormented Souls is a very, very low budget production. We actually got co-financed by the government of Chile that allowed us to make the game we made. But yeah, the idea now is that we also have like the engine. We actually developed like all the software was developed by us. So the guys from Dual Effect actually changed engines and they went like Unreal Engine, and we are staying on Unity, and we're going to be able to reuse many of the things we made. And we also are going to use the weapons, the pistols and different weapons to interact with the environment in a more dynamic way. So we might be able to destroy like a control panel, or even like make some makeshift breach in some ways when we interact with shooting into the environment.
Oh yeah, for example, like some mechanics we have in mind, for example, is like some of the enemies, for example, are infected in different ways. So we have enemies that they don't have eyes, for example, so they're not able to see. So the only way to interact with these enemies, I mean,
Okay.
these enemies react to sound. So you will be, so if you run or you shoot your weapon, they are going to like go to you, you know. So you will be, for example, like using these ideas of interaction. Or for example, we have our other enemies that they don't have like a part of their like head, and they will not be able to hear, so they can only see. So for example, like some mechanics we were thinking about it with interaction with the environment, for example, it's like you have like I don't know, like some light source that's illuminating the whole room, and you are just surrounded by these enemies they can see. So you shoot the light, and you are now like in darkness, so the enemies will not be able to see you. So yeah. Or for example, with the blind enemies, you will be able to like they take one of the physics objects and just throw it at a wall, and that will make a sound as a distraction, you know. So we will have like some the combat is going to be a little bit more dynamic. You will have more options than just like, you know, try to mow them down or just like try to run away. You will have options available to you, but at the same time you will be really really squishy. You will be really like you know, like you will not be a powerhouse. You will have tools to deal with the enemies, so that you will always be at a disadvantage here.
Yeah. And the enemies this time obviously being like infected miners and stuff, rather than the patients that we had in Tormented Souls, which were I want to say they were like quite, there weren't always many of them, but they were quite bulky. Like obviously you had the guy in the wheelchair, or the guy with the I don't know what the thing was called, where he's attached by his head in the frame.
Yeah, the hanger, I think we call him. It's like the hanger.
Whereas presumably, if you've got them infected and they're more just a human without any extra trappings, you can fit more of them into a small space, which makes things more complicated to fight.
Yeah, we're gonna have more enemies. That's something we didn't do to Tormented Souls, because as you said, the enemies were bigger and the corridors were smaller, so you weren't able to cram a lot of enemies. Actually, we had a lot of issues with Tormented Souls because a lot of people just couldn't get into the hall, because they saw that the two the speeders enemies, you know, and the fears outside the same room, and a lot of people just rage quit the game there because you had two enemies that you couldn't deal with. There's actually like a lot of it. There's a bit of XQC, you know, play Tormented Souls, and he just died to the first enemy, and he just rage quit the game. It's like,
well, he did rage quit because we didn't have autosave, and he's like a modern human. Yeah. We knew that was going to happen. It was like we knew that, like we were like the more modern company in terms of design. But there's great things about the design of Tormented Souls. We're not going to use them, but they were great. Like the experience of people like not wanting to die because there were limited saves. So that tension that the streamers had was really good for marketing. So people actually we enjoy a lot seeing people die in Tormented. So you laugh a lot. No, you enjoy the horror they're experiencing. They are experiencing real horror. So we are not going to do the same, but we are going to do some tricks to actually get the creeps, but being more modern. Like if XQC wants to play our game, hopefully he doesn't rage quit, and we actually get the sales needed, to survive.
We're gonna have, because, you know, I saw the video and I knew it was gonna happen, but at the same time it says, okay, so we reached this niche, you know, like with the limited saves, but at the same time, while reaching this niche, we actually use like ignore like the newer gamers that they don't want to do that. So for this time, we're still gonna try to do all of the survival horror tropes, but at the same time, we're trying to like not be that hardcore. You know, we're gonna have limited saves, but not in the same way. You know, we're gonna have an autosave feature for easier like difficulties if you want to play on hard, and you know, and just have the whole old school experience. You will be able to do that. But if you're a new player and you just want to play the game or play the story, you will be able to just like play in a more modern way, you know. So we're not gonna be that hardcore like the last time. For Tormented Souls, we were really hardcore.
I know. I've not 100%ed Tormented Souls yet, and one of the reasons is the no save run trophy. That's slightly terrifying.
It's terrifying.
It didn't help out that the game was crashing in the first version, so it was really annoying.
I think doing that promise to the players, like you can play the whole game without saving, it was like, yeah, that wasn't that big of a decision with such a young studio. We're not that young as a studio, but it was like a first commercial release in multiple consoles. So it
Yeah.
was like, well, we did well. We did like a good QA, but like doing those kind of promises made Thomas. He's not here, but like the technical director was, we had him working on Tormented Souls until
Yeah.
like
Next
3-4
year.
months ago. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
still patching stuff up, and he
Hmm.
actually rewrote the whole, like most of the game was rewritten so that it could run on Switch.
Great. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, and,
Yeah.
and the, but the good thing is that it was the same code for every version. So he actually took that optimization and put it into
Okay.
the PC version, and now people with old PCs could play Tormented Souls. That was like
Yeah.
a really
Oh,
good, like,
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah, there's a couple of funny things that I want to like dwell on that Stan just said.
Mm.
About the autosave feature, it's really funny because Tormented Souls actually has autosaving.
yeah,
It's coded in. It's a feature. It's completely working.
Yeah.
The only reason Tormented Souls doesn't have autosave is because the button that's on the main menu, the continue button, is just hidden. You cannot
yeah,
see it.
yeah.
That's the only reason Tormented Souls doesn't have autosave. The game actually has autosave.
No.
Like you
Yeah,
change
that's
rooms, the
true.
game autosaves. And
Yeah.
so, for example, if the game for some reason crash,
Mm.
we could just enable that button and you will be able to continue from there. But we didn't do it because, like, no, we need to leave it at save. We're a hardcore game. So, yeah.
So it was a design decision. It was
Yeah.
completely a design decision. One of
Yeah.
the great things about that game is that it's very intentional. Yeah, everything we know
Yeah.
what we were doing, and some of decisions are budget wise, but most are like design decisions. So one of the great things that the game had is that actually we made like a system where you could change like which door was connected to which door. So we were changing rooms like until the like 2 months before launch. We
Oh,
were
yeah.
reorganizing rooms, and testers were like,
And items,
"Where am
everything.
I?" Like,
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have played like the disc version of Tormented Souls. Like, if you
Yeah,
play
yeah.
like the PS5 version of Tormented Souls, it's a different game.
yeah,
Oh, right. Yeah, because that's the only one I've played. So I need to go play.
but you
Yeah,
have to play
it's-
the disc version, not the first day patch. Because-
Yeah, that's
okay.
the same. You need to literally just plug on the disc and just not update. Just disconnect
Yeah.
your internet. Just
Yeah,
not-
yeah.
No, because
I'll
I
have to
bought
give that a go.
the digital version on PS5, so it's not won't be the
No,
same.
it's not the
No.
same.
No, but I'll have
Yeah.
to give that a go then.
And it's really
Well, I
funny
wanted to
because
go-
it's super funny because like a lot of stuff changed. I say it's a different game, but it's the same game. But a lot, I think like a third of the cameras are just different. All of the
Yeah.
audio design is completely different. If you hear the game on launch, it's a different sound design. It's completely
Yeah.
the enemies sound different. Everything sounds different because like
Okay.
we didn't have the time. I had to finish the sound design of the game 1 month after release.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean no 1 month after
imagine.
release, 1 month after the submission from the PS5. So
Yeah,
if the
yeah.
submission of was in July, for example, I finished the audio on August. So that's why there is a day one patch.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
it's a different game. So there's some puzzles are different. Some items are different. So the flow of the game is a little bit different. There's some bugs that we have to patch. For example, there is a final boss skip on this version of the game that I found out like a day later after the submission. It's like, oh wait, you can just skip the boss. Okay, whatever. Day one patch.
Oh, no, I'm gonna have to go back and give that a go then. Definitely.
Yeah, it's a funny version. It's gonna crash a lot, but it's funny.
Yeah.
yeah, you're going to crash the game a lot. And the game requires a lot of machine. Like it doesn't. It isn't very efficient with the run. But going back to Astral Rot, we are actually we want to do like some enemies that are not human in this game. So
Okay.
we actually have some surprises. We don't want to like spoil, but you're going to actually find some kind of enemies that are not human. And we also are want to do some zero-G like sections, so that you can actually you fly and you actually can get sucked into space. And that's one of the things that can also change a lot how you play, how you go against enemies. So the space gives you like a lot of opportunities, not only with sections with no gravity, sections with no oxygen, but also like this is a space colony. So what were they transporting? They could have been transporting anything. This is the future. What were they doing with the how did this zombie apocalypse begin? What other things can you find? And one of the great questions is that if these are the guys that just got infected, how do the older infected look? Like the same question that you get from Resident Evil. So the idea is to actually work with that, and we also want to work with how would this infect other biologies. Like the question is, if humans get like this, how would a cat get infected? And
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. So I'm just moments of infected cats. So what would you say, like, in developing this and like with, I suppose, lessons learned from Tormented Souls? What was the biggest challenge that you faced in Astral Rot so far?
Well,
The biggest challenge I feel is okay. So I'm gonna tell a funny story right now. So the game that you saw on Steam, okay, that game, it's been in development for only 2 months. That's
Yeah.
and the demo gameplay, that's just 2 months of programming, because we weren't actually making a Tormented Souls kind of game before.
Okay.
So yeah, we have been working on this project for 2 years, but from those 2 years, a year and a little and 8 months, it was another kind of game. It was like an over the shoulder, like kind of Dead Space game, and we failed miserably.
The story is funnier because we had like a really nice demo. Then they announced like the Dead Space remake and Callisto Protocol and like
Of
13
course.
other games, and we
Yeah,
were
yeah.
like, okay,
We don't have a demo anymore. This is horrible. Why do we do this?
why are we doing like the worst version of this kind of games?
Mm.
And we started like going another route, and we actually got lost. Like we tried like changing the genre, and it wasn't until like 3 months ago, like we got like, okay, so we got the financing. We don't have more financing. We have to reduce the team. But before we do that, let's try make a great demo to actually try to get this to the development market. So we did that, and we actually got from having something that was unplayable, that we didn't find the gameplay, to have this like nice version that we actually tried, already tested with people in Chile. We actually brought it to like a game fair,
Convention,
and people loved it. Like people were like, "Oh, this is amazing!" The best line I got was like, "This is amazing. This looked like Tormented Souls." It was like, we made Tormented Souls.
That's it. Yeah.
It was really funny. That was one of the funniest. Like, so
Yeah,
the game looks actually much better than Tormented Souls. Like everyone that plays it, like it feels the cameras are smoother, the environment looks more lively, because we actually had, even though we only have 2 months of development, we had like a year and a half of pre-production of the environment. So the artists know where we are. We know.
Yeah.
What survived is the world, is the story, is the designs. So it was really fast for us to get those designs and get it together. And it was actually really nice to see this from a fixed camera perspective, because before, when it was like a movable camera, it was really hard to do like these planes that are so creepy, like like this horror was really hard to do. We were like managing, but it was not really good. You felt like an action hero. And now with the change to the fixed camera, that actually Nick's like was like, I can do it like in a day, and he did it like in 4 hours, like change the cameras. The game like felt like really like a horror game. So we were like, yeah, okay, this is working. Then we got the artist to redo the lighting and everything. And Maxi was like, okay, I can work in the cameras. And we were like, everyone was working, even though many guys like got like the notice, like, you're working until the end of the month. So they still like gave the order, and they are waiting for us to get like the financing to finish the game and come back. So we're like, right now we are still like going forward with funding. The game. We are talking with different like funding possible like partners, and hopefully we find the people love the game. So we are very we are very like how do you say it? Confiado? ¿Cómo se dice? Sorry, English is not our first language.
Of course, no, yeah.
Yeah, but we are very confident that we are going to get some funding for this game. It's a good game. We have a team working on it slowly right now, but we know we are going to get it to the market in any way. If we have to do like only the demo, it goes into only the demo. But it's a good game. We feel very confident with it, and it's getting like a really good shape. It's getting into a really good shape with low work. So I think we could see it like in a year and a half or maybe 2 years. It could go into market already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, to answer the question, the biggest challenge was not doing what we did in Tormented Souls.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and one of the things we learned by derailing into another place was like, making games that are free, that with so much freedom, is really hard and really expensive. So we should go back to like a more controlled experience. So we actually have a good learning experience, like seeing what worked with Tormented Souls, what we actually can know, and we by not doing what we know how to do, we learn what we knew, what we knew. So we
Well,
know,
you actually know what to do, yeah.
yeah. So we know we can do like really nice camera work. Maxi is like really great doing like cinematics, and we're actually like just finishing like a new trailer right now, and we have like all these like abilities that we weren't using. We were like avoiding our own abilities. So we went back and we say, we can do this kind of game if we just do what we know how to do. And so
Yeah.
that was like the biggest lesson. And what we wanted to do, that we saw everyone in the streams, like, is that we want to do like a better enemy combat. That was one of the main lessons. That puzzles are really good. We want to avoid like the more cryptic ones. We want to go like not that cryptic, because some of the puzzles of Tormented Souls almost no one got them. So we went, okay, it's like two or three puzzles that are too complicated for normal people, or for
Normal
people.
people.
Yeah, for people in general. But most puzzles are really well done. So the process we got to do the puzzles in the Tormented Souls was that I was actually, as I am a producer and I actually teach mainly, I work like a few hours in the company, even though I'm one of the owners, but
Yeah.
I teach at the universities. So
Okay.
I was like blind testing the puzzles. Like, there's a new puzzle, then go blind test it. And if I could get through the puzzle alone without any help, it was a good puzzle. If I didn't get through the puzzle, it was not a good puzzle. And there were some puzzles that were cryptic, but you could brute force them. That's something that you could do with the old Resident Evil games.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that we didn't want people to not understand the puzzles. So we did like many tricks to force people to understand what they were doing, and we are going to do the same tricks here. So that if you want to brute force this, it's going to take ages. Like
Yeah.
combinational explosion is really big, except for the room with the doors, because that one was okay. Let's let them brute force this, because they could stay here forever. Like, you cannot get out of that room.
Yeah.
So we made some very like this design like puzzles. So we want to keep that, and we want to actually work a little bit more with the environment, like Nick was saying, like to actually interact with the environment in real time, and that is actually something that we think could give this more live and more somewhat more action feeling. And also like this creepy moment where you want to do something, but someone could hear you, someone could attack you, and that's something that we couldn't do that well in Tormented Soul, because it was more limited. Like the enemies, there was a moment where we were thinking about not having enemies, but we realized that no, we have to do enemies. Let's do at least somewhat basic enemies, and it worked very well. But we think we can improve a lot in the regard. And we also want to have like some middle boss that is more challenging, more like a Silent Hill boss.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say you say basic enemies in Tormented Souls. Those little guys with no legs, though, always gave me.
The speeders, we love those.
Yeah. When I say basic, I don't refer like if they are like bad enemies, but they don't. There's not that much of a variation, and they work like
Yeah, I see what
they
you
have
mean.
the
Yeah.
same code, the same behavior. That we just play around with the range and stuff like that. And the idea is now to have like more diverse behaviors and some more interesting like interactions, like what Nick was saying, like turning out the lights and stuff like that, so that you can interact a little bit more. Actually, the guys in Tormented Souls on wheelchair are blind, and you can actually like try to pass them by
Oh
being
yeah.
like silent, and it somewhat works, but it's not that good. So people don't see it, and it was not like. But the system is there.
Oh
It's
yeah, yeah.
just
It works actually. If you play Tormented Souls and try to walk around the wheelchair enemies, they will not see you. It's just something
yeah,
people just don't notice because it's not
No,
clear from
exactly.
the.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it is there. So they actually hear, they actually see some of the enemies. And we actually had at one point we had a system where they actually you could actually like hide behind pillars, and enemies would go and try to find you, and if they lost track of you, they go back. And we have some of that system working, but the spaces are so small that they don't you don't do not appreciate them. There's no such, it's not necessary, like it's like
No.
trying to kill an ant with an anvil, uh,
Mm.
so in this game we are going to have like spaces where you can actually do some fun interactions with the enemies, and and some stuff we can do now that we have like the engine already solved and we know the gameplay we want to do. There's not that much exploration right now in regards of what we were exploring in Tormented Souls. Like we were actually doing the technology while we were designing the past. So it was really, really hard. There was a moment in Tormented Soul where we thought that we were not going to be able to make the game because there was nothing was working. Right? It was like a very critical moment,
Yeah.
and, and that happens when you make games. You have like these really dangerous moments where nothing works. Nothing. When I say nothing, it's really, really nothing, and sometimes you get like a happy ending, and sometimes you don't. you know.
So, I just want to pick up because you said obviously when you tried to make the over-the-shoulder game and then it hadn't really worked, and you'd obviously found it more kind of within your wheelhouse to go back to the fixed camera and like the Tormented Soul style. Because we spoke to the guys Brass Token Studios who worked on a game from last year called The Chant, and they mentioned like they'd originally tried to make that game as a fixed camera game, and then they found that was too complex and it was easier to switch to the over-the-shoulder view. Um, and,
Yeah, it's
and
funny.
and we know like also guys another studio called Malformation Games, they're making it which is
Oh
not
yeah,
only fixed camera but also pre-rendered
pre-render it. Yeah.
backgrounds.
Mm.
And there's obviously it looks fantastic what they've done, but obviously they've had a lot of technical difficulties for it. Like they're saying like that's probably the biggest challenge that they face in it. So it was interesting kind of to hear the other side of it, and you go, well, no, if we do fix cameras, we can make it work, as
Yeah.
opposed to
But
The-
there's something you need to know. So Nix, myself, and Maxi, we are like engineers. Like we are Abstract Digital is an engineering company, so we're very good at engineering. So
Mm.
usually, engineering this is easy for us. The difficult part for us is
it's the
mainly
art.
it's art and experience, like direct experience.
Mm.
So for us that we are more like engineers, it has been like
Understand.
not that difficult to do systems, and the systems from Tomato Source were actually very robust. And when we tried to do these new systems and we didn't have Thomas, it was like really like we have a really nice new system like this traversal system, the cinema the uh, like a cinematic system also, and some nice system. We had like really nice systems with the over the shoulder, but the thing is that we want to do like a really really good technology, and doing really really good technology in a field where the good guys, the big guys in over the shoulder games are really good. We felt like we couldn't reach that level of
Yeah.
quality, and we were like really frustrated by the height of the demand of the gameplay experience we
Yeah.
wanted.
The thing is,
And
like most, a lot of the systems, we started working over the Tormented Souls engines. I think that was the first big mistakes because the Tormented Souls
yeah,
engine is really focused for fixed camera games, and those fixed
yeah,
camera games have really, really specific rules. If you open
yeah,
the menu, the game pauses. That's not something that happens, for example, in Dead Space. And we wanted that feeling of like opening the menu and just being able to move around. and that happened with basically everything. In Tormented Souls, you need to aim and you cannot move. Oh wait,
Yeah,
now I need to move and aim. So the entire system was not built around it, and when trying to move towards there with what we had, we just found a lot of problems, a lot of issues.
Yeah.
In fact, right now we're still struggling a little bit because we had to destroy almost everything we had to move to this over the shoulder thing, and then we went back in a really short time. So there's a lot of stuff just got lost in the translation. So, for example, if we get funding now, like really shortly, most likely we will just take the art and move it to the Tormented Souls engine instead of like trying to repair what we broke on the way.
Yeah.
yeah.
That
The
makes
other thing
sense.
that happened is that we actually did a fork in development. Like we had like the October 2021 engine from Tormented, and Tormented Souls engine, as Nix was telling, got actually improved a lot during the last years. So the idea for us is to actually take the best of this engine, so that we can actually get the improvements in performance also. So that's another thing. So as I was saying, we are very good engineers. So doing like this over the shoulder game, one of the big problems we had is that you need a lot of art to do over the shoulder games, and usually companies are like artists first and developers second usually.
Yeah.
But we are the other way around. So it was really hard for us to push our new artists to work on such a big game, and we made like really good and bad decisions, and we had really good environments. We have a demo from a year ago, 2 years ago. That's amazing. That's really nice. Like visually, it's
Yeah.
amazing. But when we tried to expand that, we actually couldn't do it. Like it was, but it's a strange limit. I think it's mainly like what we were telling, that we started with an idea that this action game is like Dead Space game, and then we started going into more of a stealth game, and then we just got lost.
Mm.
But now we found like our voice, and it's more like, Tormented Souls in space, but with improvements, and a story that's more of our own story. Like the story is our own. So Maxi and his brother actually started like this world, and we actually love this world, and we said like, we like this. We like this world where we're playing. We like this Artemis. We like this asteroid, and we think that the thing we need to fix its gameplay. It's not like the setting. The setting is amazing. It's really nice to be in space, and we actually didn't need to redo the most of the enemies or the character. We actually just need to redo like the experience. So that's where we are at now.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's good to see as well, obviously, community support. As you mentioned, obviously, there was a huge positive reception to once you kind of put out the gameplay and everything. So I'm assuming from your end as well, it's been really good to see like that positive community support.
Yeah, it's been amazing to have like actually people doing some articles and talking with us. Even though Tormented Souls got announced, we still got like a lot of coverage. We were very happy to actually have people talking, and people getting confused. Like, aren't you
Mm.
doing like this game or this other game? Is it's compressible.
Yeah.
So it's really fun to actually be having two like horror games coming out of Tormented Souls. It's really fun for us, and we are the co-creators of the first one, so we feel like a lot of ownership over that game, and we feel like with this game we are doing some. You're going to see like our mark. The technology will be there, the gameplay will be there, and we have a new story to tell, because the first game is very religious, like this religious sect and stuff, but we are going through this like more of a class dispute, a kind of a more typical human experience, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, certainly from my point of view, I'm sure Will will agree as well. It's just like saying, oh yeah, Tormented Souls was this great game. Now there's two games that one a direct sequel, one a kind of spiritual successor, both coming out. It's certainly a good
Oh,
time.
it's going to be an exciting time, definitely.
So what's next as far as that goes? Have you got plans in the works for kind of more trailers or a playable demo or anything, or is that all dependent on when you get more funding?
Yes and no. We have a demo right now that we want to polish to be able to publish it on Steam to have as a playable demo. But I feel we still have a little bit of like time to be there, and most likely, even if we don't get funding soon, we will try to finish that to have a playable demo. But yeah, after that, the entire game, yeah, we will look for funding because there is no way we finish the game without funding. The demo, yes, the demo for sure. The demo is coming. Give you some time, but it's going to happen. We already have like the entire like vertical slides. The entire demo is like 15 to 20 minutes long. We just need to polish some stuff that we broke, but yeah, the game works. We just need to get the time to do that because right now we're focusing all of our time, all of our resources into trying to get the funding to finish the game.
No, because as you say, like you're obviously very deep in development at the moment. Have you had any chance to play any other horror games this year?
Yeah, I played the remake of Resident Evil 4.
Okay. And how did you find it?
Which one?
The only one. There's only one remake.
There's the virtual reality.
No, but that came out like some years ago. But yeah, I played the remake and I really liked it. I enjoyed it. But at the same time, it was weird because I went back to the real Resident Evil 4 to just remember how it was. And I installed some mods on it, and I feel like the modded version of the original Resident Evil 4, it hit closer to me. I enjoyed it a little bit more. The new one, it's fun. It's really fun. But I don't know if I will replay the game,
Yeah.
It's like a one-time thing. I don't care about like replaying it and trying to get everything. I feel like the original Resident Evil 4, it's better in that way. Yeah, I had a good time.
Yeah. So, any other kind of games from this year that have stood out, either that you've had a chance to play or that you think I need to play that at some point?
Oh, Signalis, yeah, Signalis too. Signalis is really good.
Yeah,
I still have to finish it because I got it on Game Pass. So yeah, but yeah, really, really good.
Actually, it's not that horror game, but I was playing Little Nightmares 2, sorry, not so long ago. And yeah, it's got the creepy atmosphere, but sometimes the characters, the NPCs, the enemies that you find, have really weird behaviors. For example, there's these guys that like a teacher that can her head is like a snake. So when she tries to find you, like it spans from her body, and it's really creepy, especially when she chases you. So there are some moments that are really maybe hit a nerve and makes you be like uneasy, but yeah, in general, the atmosphere and everything from the game, I really like it. And I think it's the only actual horror game that I played this year.
Yeah,
I was taking a look at Returnal. It's more an action game, but it has like this sci-fi experience. I am with my brother that just got a PS5 because they finally got cheap. In Chile they were like so expensive, like ridiculously expensive, but right now they are like at a good price. So we got a PS5 and I'm looking like these games like Returnal and trying to look like the horror games on PS5. So any recommendation from you guys on new horror games?
It's
I was going to say, do you want to go first?
Yeah. Obviously Resident Evil remake. I quite enjoyed Dead Island. Dead Island 2 released this year. That was a really fun game from probably about 10 years ago now, I think the original came out. But diving back in and exploring that, I think that's a really fun game, especially with friends as well, because you can play with a party of people and that. I found that quite enjoyable. And I also checked out Layers of Fear, the remake. I played through that, and that still holds up incredibly well. So they're my really good ones. What about you, Phil?
Yeah, there's a few. I mean, Maxi, obviously you mentioned Little Nightmares 2.
Yes.
If you like that kind of game, then there's one that came out this year called Bramble, the Mountain King, which is
that's a good one.
It's a platformer in the same style, and it's kind of based in like Norwegian folklore, and it's like got that whole like kind of very dark horror element to it, which is a lot of fun.
What was the name?
Bramble, the Mountain King.
Bra-
It's called.
Is that when you're something small?
Yes,
No.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Then the huge creatures come out of the water and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrific. Yeah, horrific in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just remembering that I also played Callisto Protocol when when it came
Of
out because
course.
it was the our direct competition, obviously, and with millions and millions more. It was a real bummer because when we started doing Astral Rot, it we had a lot of ideas that with every update that we saw from Callisto Protocol, there were ideas that we already were thinking,
I
and it
see.
was they're doing it, but with more money. So for starters, we were doing the Dead Space like gameplay experience. They started with that. Okay, we added stealth gaming because at the beginning was going to be action and stealth at the same time, and they got the stealth section, and then I don't know, we had some kind of environment like a dome with trees and stuff. They got like that. Entonces, then every update that they got, it was something that we already thought it was
Yeah.
a real was a real bummer at the time, and it was some of the things that made us start changing the design of the game,
Mm,
because we didn't want to be the copy of the copy, because Callisto
of course,
was
yeah.
Yeah.
actually already like a spiritual successor of Dead Space. So we were like the successor of the successor. We didn't want to do that. So actually, at one point, as Nix and Sven were saying, the project started to change a lot, and we at one point take a more narrative path, and we actually wanted to be more like um, a plague tale, which
Okay.
is really narrative. It's not that complex in the way that you have to solve puzzles and stuff like that, but it really focused on the environments, on the narrative, and that's where we got lost, and it maybe it was more constructed in my head that we managed to do it in the actual game.
Yeah.
But yeah, when that failed, that's when we went back to what we already knew how to do.
Yeah. It was quite interesting to see so much space themed horror like around, because obviously aside from Callisto Protocol, Dead Space, there was also
Yeah,
Fort
for
Solace.
Solis.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Fort Solace. Yeah.
Returnal. There was like a lot of games. Like we counted them. That when there was like this E3, like we counted like 14, like space horror games. 14. It was like really hard for us.
Yeah.
It took a dent on our spirit, but I think we are very happy with the changes we're making right now.
Yeah.
I think as a company, this is the game we want to do, and also I am. We actually have other games we do, some like more happy games, and one of the funny things that happened is that we made like a very complex system of crafting, where you actually it's another game, nothing to do
Mm.
with this. It wasn't to do this like comparison, and when Zelda Tears of the Kingdom came out, someone texted me like, you have to see the new trailer of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and they had the same system, like very close system. It was like, oh no, first the horror game, now the happy game. What are you going to do?
Uh,
So, but that's something that happens, and we're
mm,
trying to take it like, if we do something that other people is doing, maybe we're doing something right. We just need to try to do something that feels good. We have to do like a good game in the genre. We need to try to avoid being like the copy of the copy of the copy, or
yeah.
being like a trash game. But if we do something great, Tormented Souls actually happened that we were just doing a game. I did like a market research because I'm actually I really love numbers, like on tables and everything. I have actually a study of every like Chilean game that was ever developed, and where all the money goes from the government and everything. And I did like a really good study of the genre, like of the genre of horror games. And I said, we can make this game. The market is open.
Yeah.
You only have like these two remakes coming out, and they are going to be positive for us because these are games that take someone they grab it like for 20 hours and they set them free, and usually wanting more. So people like actually played like Resident Evil remake, and they went to us. So that was the great thing. They actually came to Tormented Souls. I do remember that when we were doing the first Tormented Souls, there was this game that was like a fake game. Like, do you remember this demo from a game like was a horror game? And it was like a demo that they were going to launch a day, and then they started like
I know what you're talking about.
Was it Abandoned
Abandoned?
or
Abandoned.
Yeah.
yeah?
We actually launched Tormented Souls demo the same day that people started talking about Abandon, and nobody found out about Tormented Souls because everyone was like, "Where's Abandon? It's the new Kojima game."
Oh God.
Yeah, but I mean, like, even when there's a lot of overlap, like, it's easy to set yourself apart with good ideas, because obviously something. Going back to Tormented Souls, obviously there's plenty of games which are doing like fixed camera, old school survival horror, but there's a few that stand out, and I mean, I will just kind of say, for me, certainly when we were coming up with doing the Horror Game Awards, Tormented Souls and Signalis were a big part of the inspiration, because they were the two kind of looking at 2021 and then 2022 and the Game Awards, and absolutely nothing about either of like my favorite games from them years. And then it was like, we've got to do our own, we've got to make it ourselves. So it's like, so that's certainly a big part of it. But I just, from what we've seen of Astral Rot as well, there's a huge amount of promise, and if that demo is on the horizon in the near future, I'm very much looking forward to getting my hands on it.
Definitely.
So at the moment, you're asking people to wishlist on Steam, I presume, is the main kind of thing that people can do to support the game. Yeah, so we will have a link in the description for anyone watching. So do please check that out and give a wish list to support the guys. And then other than that, you can follow them. Is Twitter your main social place where you post news and stuff, or are there other places people can check out?
Twitch too.
Yeah, we have a
Twitter
Twitch
about
for Spanish-speaking people. We have a Twitch where we actually talk about other games, about our development, and we actually interview like game developers from Latin America, and we play like small demos. So Twitch is really like a great platform for us. You can find Nick's the Shield on YouTube and find the music he does and his process also. And we actually also have like an Instagram where you can find us. And yeah, those are our main like social networks.
Cool. Well, once again, we will absolutely encourage everyone to support you and follow you, whatever their preferred platform may be. All the links will be down below in the description of the video. But it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you guys and hearing more about it. And yeah, it's definitely a good time to be a horror fan with not one but two successors to Tormented Souls coming out. So thank you again, and thank you to everyone for watching, and we will hopefully catch you on the next one.
Thank you for inviting us again.
No worries.
Thank you. Goodbye.
See you later.
This has been Talking Terror, the official podcast of the Horror Game Awards. Thank you very much for listening. Check out the links in the description for more info on where to follow our guests in order to support them and keep up to date with their work. The Horror Game Awards will be airing live on YouTube on Saturday 16th of December. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel to avoid missing out on what promises to be a very exciting night of awards and game reveals, as well as future episodes of this podcast and other content. Thanks again for joining us, and we hope to see you next time.